Right off the bat, I think it was a great idea that they pushed the idea of Jack's invincibility to the limit by planting an explosion inside him and then detonating it. There were many times when I was growing up watching Doctor Who and Torchwood where I wondered what the hell would happen if you blew an immortal man to a million pieces. Jack Harkness's death could have been a very real possibility. The wriggling body bag was a terrific display of special effects. I imagine they just inflated portions of it like an air mattress, accompanied by some grisly sound effects. When they open it up with those grim, sticky bits of flesh, it produces this strange juxtaposition of hope through horror. Just when I thought Jack's fleshy body screaming in pain wasn't terrifying enough, this whole filling up the cell with cement idea was pure nightmare fuel. At first, I thought this pipe was an RPG. Removing Jack from the episode leaves the other two Torchwood members in a very vulnerable state, and thus heightening the tension from the offset. I say that, but Yanto and Gwen acquire some serious plot immunity when this sniper does a terrible job of trying to kill them. I really did like the fake ambulance driver assassins.
Who do you work for?
The NHS.
Who do you work for?
And they also trashed Cardiff Bay very convincingly. These wide shots are insane. However, I wasn't too keen on the cutting back and forth between Gwen's muffled and musicless perspective. It was a little jarring to hear the score coming back and forth into the mix like a broken record.
Target 1's eliminated. 2 and 3 have escaped, but we're in pursuit.
What went wrong?
They got lucky, but they won't get far.
We can't have witnesses.
This shot was really nice though. Here, John Frobisher is insisting on the killing of Gwen and Yanto, with his family not only in earshot, but depicted happily in the photograph behind him. Their happiness is the direct result of Frobisher's dirty work, something they are blissfully unaware about. He even welcomes Mr. Decker into his house to discuss the building of the room that will house the 456. It's great at showing the two sides of this man, but he's doing a terrible job of preventing his family from potentially listening in on him. Part of the response to this dilemma was very humorous.
Why is that man filming us? We gotta be on telly.
Dad,
What?
we want a pony. We want a pony.
And these expressions of childhood naivety were terrific at creating some much needed humour to counterbalance the heavier themes that this series juggles with. Gwen then has to go into hiding with Rhys, and their arguing about that fact was absolutely top quality.
These khakis!
To the top of the fridge, I think.
I'm trying on top of the bloody fridge, man! Come on, come on!
Even better was how they used Rhys's job as a lorry driver to get them to London via a lorry filled with potatoes. Another element of the show that held consistency with prior series was the inclusion of Gwen's old colleague in the police force, Andy. Considering how poorly she treated him in the episode Adrift, it's no surprise he would be conflicted about the idea of Gwen Cooper being labelled a terrorist. Remarkably, his scenes result in him deciding not to be a kiss-ass for the government, joining in with the fight against soldiers taking away children. It's a nice little redemption arc for this small fry character, slotting him into the story with purpose and payoff. It was very interesting seeing the writers toy with the idea of what exactly being labelled as a terrorist means. What happens when those doing said labelling, in this case the UK government, are the very ones dishing that fear out to the public and simultaneously committing atrocities? Despite the bombing of Cardiff Bay looking like a terrorist incident, it was in fact perpetrated by those that do said labelling. They turn Torchwood into the bogeymen with these very tactics, and it makes it easier for characters like Johnson to justify their murderous actions.
I protect the state. I was brought up to believe in protect the state.
I'm working for the government. I just follow orders, that's all. I just do as I'm told. I'm just following orders, that's all.
Yanto has to go into hiding too, but what he gets up to is quite hit and miss. Let's start with the fact that they depict him moping around Cardiff at night. Then the next morning he sat right where the sniper was the night before. He then gets a paperboy to deliver a letter to his sister with instructions on where to meet, which results in her handing him her laptop and car keys. We don't get any indication of what Yanto was up to all night, nor if he was spotted by the CCTV cameras. Rhiannon handing over these very valuable items goes against the territorial nature of the characters on the estate, and worse still, dialogue like this.
You never tell me anything these days. Dad died, that was it. You were off. You couldn't wait. Like, I did something wrong. I didn't. Did I?
muddies my understanding of their relationship. Yanto confiding in her about his attraction to his boss might have made her commit to her brother more than ever before, but at the same time, her house getting raided the previous night would surely make her question whether she should be handing things over to her brother that is wanted by the police. Had this character not been introduced so late into the series, there might have been more cause for her rather impulsive decision making. The raid was a great excuse to produce more humour though.
We're looking for Yanto Jones! You're not gonna find him in my bed, did you? I'm a married man!
Yet another 10 out of 10 moment from old Johnny boy. It was also brilliant having Johnny rattle the Snoop cars with all the kids from the estate just to get Rhiannon out of the house unseen. Just a shame they gave this kid an Xbox 360 controller that wasn't even turned on. Meanwhile in London, Lois sets a meeting in a cafe with Gwen and Reese. I understand that Martha Jones was originally meant to return for this series, but due to scheduling conflicts, Freema Agyeman was unable to commit to the role. I believe Lois to be written in as a Martha replacement, because nothing she does in the first 2 episodes made me think she was even remotely qualified for a job at the Home Office. We don't know what prior work grants her the experience to work there, displaying timidity and humility right up until she's made this comprehensive plan to help Gwen break Jack out of jail. She seems fully committed to Torchwood's cause just because she couldn't put them through to her boss on the phone. The moment with the Undertaker being put in the coffin was really funny, but the planning for this rescue definitely felt quite rushed. As well as making the characters on the estate be very believable, the men guarding Jack also felt very human.
Coda, got a couple of body snatchers down the gate for you.
The way this first guard mistook the victim for his colleague was very amusing, and the guard who tried to flirt with Gwen and Reese getting all defensive about it was prime content also. The breakout sequence was very spectacular, but also very questionable. Firstly, how on earth did Yanto manage to remove the concrete cell from the floor in order for it to be movable?
Reese, get out and move that truck!
Secondly, a cement mixer gets driven by Reese to block the road, which then explodes after Gwen fires her gun at it. To my recollection, not once in Torchwood have any of the characters ever fired explosive bullets.
A complete concrete mixer full of humble pie.
Yanto then drives the block of concrete to a dig site and drops it from a great height to get Jack out. I would have imagined that this would result in the solidified concrete to rip Jack into several pieces. Maybe then they have to carry his head around like Bender from Futurama or something? But no, he's fine, and yeah, that's pretty much the episode. The team are back together and mysteries are still very much lingering from this episode. The combination of characters trying to figure out what in the holy hell is going on. The developing communications from the 456 via the children. Jack surviving an explosion. The government's actions preparing for the 456's arrival. It's all very gripping. Like episode 1, there are a few chinks in the armor, but for a filler episode, Episode 2 is terrific, so entertaining and so mysterious. I give Day 2 an 8 out of 10.